Good afternoon. My name is Silvi Fadilla Ramadhani, and my last student number is 123. In this opportunity, I'm going to present my work. Okay, so here is my work with the title The Portrayal of Appearances versus Real Self in Shirley Jackson's short story The Possibillity of Evil by applying semiotic structuralism approach. Before we begin, let's start with the table of contents that include introduction, theoretical framework, method, issue, result and analysis, conclusion, and the last one is work cited. And let's start with the introduction first. So the story that I analyze here is The Possibility of Evil, which is a short story written by Shirley Jackson and published on December 18, 1965 in the Saturday Evening Post. And the summary of the story is Pleasant Street has been home to the lovely Strangeworth house since the little town was built. With its beautiful roses and perfect illustration, and it's now the house of Miss Adela Strangeworth, a nice old lady who has a respectable image by everyone in her town, especially because her eye-catching magnificent roses that everyone adores. Somehow, she felt obliged to divide her town from evil because that charming, lovely town would not exist without her family. As a result, every night she would send anonymous letter to people in her town who she thought they need someone's advice. Her concept of advice, on the other hand, was evil, rude, and cruel. So that's the summary, and now we're moving on to the theoretical framework. So the literary study approach that I use is semiotic structuralism. So Ferdinand de Saussure is widely recognized here as a significant contributor to semiotic theories of sign and language. And his semiotic works and how his views on structuralism are implemented in the realm of sign and language. And the next one is the method. So I use heuristic and hermeneutic reading. Heuristic reading is a way of reading in the first level, which is a language-based way of reading. It is a reading that goes from beginning to end of the text, and the activities are noticing words, lines, certain terms of the text semantically. While hermeneutic reading is the second level semantic system, and it is a way of reading literary works based on literary convention, and it is an activity of finding the meaning of what has been done in the first reading by using interpretation, association to get the significance. Cited by Fadilla, 1978, 5-6. And the second method, in analyzing the meaning of the story, I applied and I focus in Fadilla's theory, which contains of three components. There are displacing, which is the shifting of one sign from one meaning to another. And according to Ramadhani, displacing meaning occurs when a sign moves from one meaning to another. And as happens with metaphor, metonymy, in the form of simile, personification, and etc. And the second one is distorting. It is a deviation of meaning and occurs in the form of figurative language, such as ambiguity and contradiction. And the last one is creating. It is when the textual space serves as a principle of an organization for making sign out of linguistic items that may not be meaningful otherwise. For example, symmetry, rhyme, and etc. And now let's discuss the issue. So the issue that I have decided to use here is the portrayal of appearance versus real self. And why did I choose that? So the reason is because the story here tries to show how Miss Strangeworth has a very decent appearance, such as lovely, kind, and caring lady. However, her true self is extremely far from decent. It can be seen by how she always wrote an evil letter and sent it to the people in her town. So I assume that this issue occurs often in real life until the saying, "don't judge a book by its cover" comes, which we must always remember since trusting people too quickly and easily is dangerous. Because if we do that, people will be so easy to hurt us, right? So let's just be careful. And now we're moving on to the result and analysis. And the first one is symbolism. So the first symbol that I have found is rose. According to the Dictionary of Symbols by G. Serlo 2001, the single rose by its very nature is a perfect symbol of completion, accomplishment, and perfection. Well, um, based on the context of the story, I think rose is a delicate flower with a gorgeous red color that everyone adores, but it also can be hurtful due to rose has thorns, right? So the rose is similar to Miss Strange, where she seems like a lovely lady and friendly to everyone, but behind that angelic picture, she turns out that she is a very horrible lady who is controlling, bullies the townspeople, and jealous of other people's success. And the next symbol is letters. So here, the letters picture like a brightly color on the outside and appear to be pleasant letters that worth opening, but actually they contain a very cool message on the inside. So this is exactly like her, like Miss Strangeworth appears to be a sweet old lady on the outside, but on the inside, she has a very terrible attitude and sends hateful letters to people. So both she and her letters appear to be nice, well, actually, they're not. They're evil. And the next symbol is Miss Strangeworth's name, Miss Adela Strangeworth. Her last name already indicates how strange she is as a person, since she likes doing unusual activities such as writing hateful letters to people secretly, right? However, somehow everyone in her town cannot see her as a strange lady since they do not yet know her true self, because how well she keeps it behind her angelic image. And the next symbol is the house. So according to the Dictionary of Symbols by J. Law 2001, house as a home evokes strong spontaneous association with the human body and the human mind. While if I see it through the meaning of the story and the context of the story, I think her house is seen as a representation of appearance versus truth, since it represents the total opposite of who she truly is. And her house, which is said to be full of rose perfume, has the extraordinary clean lines and appears pure white. So many people admire her house and they think and they believe Miss Rangeworth is just as magnificent as her home, while in reality, she is extremely far from pure soul. And now I have methods. So the first method is heuristic reading. I come to the analysis that after reading the story, I believe it was interesting, intriguing, detailed, and wonderful. The language and vocabulary used are mostly everyday languages that are clear and understandable. Nevertheless, there are a few unique, uncommon words that I discovered, such as shanties, infatuated, science, translucent, and rambler. However, the use of these terms was only a little bit and did not interfere with my understanding to the story itself. And the second one, I have hermeneutic reading. So my analysis is Miss Strangeworth's problems throughout the story demonstrate her obsession with perfection. She sees herself as a nice and flawless person, but she sees the people in her town, such as her neighbors and the individuals she encounters on the street, as far from perfect. They are lustful, evil, lovely, and need to be watched over. However, I've come to the understanding that Miss Strangeworth wants is actually because she wishes to make her town perfect and filled with perfect people as well. But perhaps her way is wrong, and what she's doing was insulting rather than correcting and educating. So it was a point that she didn't realize until she got her letter back from someone. And the next one is displacing of meaning. And I have discovered metaphors, which is a figure of speech that directly compares one thing to another. So this question, how old is Her Highness now? Which is asked by Miss Ranger to Helen Crane. I think the meaning is Helen Crane's baby as compared to a princess, since her parents fully spoil her and give everything she wants, much like the queen and king will do with their princess. And the next metaphor is she is probably worrying about why you keep jumping around all the time. So in this sentence, jumping all around does not have a literal meaning of jumping, but metaphorically, it means to interfere in someone's business excessively. And the next one is personification, which is when human characteristics are given in something non-human. Miss Strangewood went up the graceful staircase. So here, the graceful indicates that the stairs have been given life and have a human aspects. And the next one is hyperbole. So it is a literary device that creates heightened effect through deliberate exaggeration. So in the story, Miss Strangewood exaggerates that the town where she stays is her town. She describes that the town as her own, like she complete owns it, and everyone in it, cited by Glucksberg Sam and Matthew 2001, page 36. And the next one is distorting of meaning. I've discovered an ambiguity, which is a situation that is unclear because it can be understood in more than one way. So I think the ambiguity is found towards the end of the story, which is like, here, look out at what used to be your roses. So I am confused and not really sure about the ending. There are like a lot of questions on my mind. I think, did everyone discover in the end that she was the one behind the awful letters, or did only Don Crane that discover it, or Harry's boy the only who knows? Or maybe did the author leave it up to the readers to come up with their own ending? I'm not sure. So that's why I think that is an ambiguity. And the next one is contradiction, which is a statement of a position opposite to one already made. Just like here, the sun was shining, the air was fresh and clear. So here, the contradiction is in and how the story describes appearance with a highly contradicting reality. The strange words town seems to be lovely, nice, and perfect. Everyone knows each other really well and close to each other. Yet they are all unaware that each of them has evil hiding within themselves. So I come to the conclusion by applying several methods, which are heuristic and hermeneutic reading, displacing, distorting, and creating meanings. There's an element in the story named symbols, and from the heuristic reading, it is indicated that the story is detailed and the language is easy to understand because it's written in the everyday language. There are, however, a few unusual terms, but it doesn't really destroy the whole story. And although at the ending of the story it becomes ambiguous, the writer explained the structure of the story in a very clear and well-organized form. And from hermeneutic reading, it has been found that Miss Strangewood's problem throughout the story demonstrates her obsession with perfection. And through displacing meaning, I discovered several metaphors, personification, and hyperbole, while through distorting meaning, there are ambiguity and contradiction. And moreover, the theme of the possibility of evil is every action has its consequence, or we know it more like karma. So which is A good deed will lead to a future beneficial effect, while a bad deed will lead to a future harmful effect. Just as in the story, Miss Trenchworth's evil actions were exposed and she received revenge in the form of the roses being destroyed by those people she hurt all this time. So yeah, this is the work cited, and that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for the attention and have a wonderful day. Bye.